Rally by far-right groups and white nationalists has been swamped by a counter-protest outside the White House in Washington. It was held exactly a year after the infamous Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, that saw bitter clashes, you may recall, between the rival groups back then.
So we're here in Lafayette Park, and as you can see, we are surrounded by a huge anti-racist demonstration. The crowd of thousands is denouncing the 24 or so white supremacists, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them, that have gathered directly in front of the White House. Now, there are thousands of people here representing a very broad group of organizations. We got church groups that are out here, black nationalist groups, Marxists, far leftists, anarchists. We've seen the Antifa. A lot of them assembled. Actually, a lot of Antifa folks assembled wearing gas masks, helmets, almost as if they're ready for some kind of confrontation. Now, we are also hearing the sound of police helicopters that are flying above. However, at the moment, it appears that no scuffles have broken out. We have not heard any reports of injuries. Very wide variety of causes represented here in front of the White House as thousands of people have come out. They're not unified around much, but when it comes to opposing the Ku Klux Klan, opposing the white nationalists, that is one thing that has brought all these people together. Caleb Maupin, RT, Washington, D.C.
Back then, the deadly unrest in Charlottesville deepened political divisions in the U.S. There's a reminder of how those events unfolded at the time, and a warning you may find some of the pictures coming up here upsetting.
Terrorism is the use of violence to incite terror and fear. And of course it was terrorism.
This egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides.
There's a twist to this too. Now, a year after the tragedy, some American politicians are suggesting that Russia was somehow behind the unrest.
I sat in a closed session briefing probably 2 months ago about Charlottesville with the director of the FBI, amongst others, and asked if Russian intermeddling had to do with fomenting the flames of what happened in Charlottesville. I was told, yes, it did.
Well, he says he got it from an FBI briefing, which was not classified. Now, look, if he has information, if the FBI has information, I'd love to hear it. So would America. But it seems kind of bizarre to me that a congressman who says he's not running for re-election because he's having personal problems, all of a sudden, with a couple of months left in his term, takes the opportunity on CNN, which will do anything to bash Trump and to accuse Russia of anything. He knows something that nobody has ever heard of until this point, that was Russia's fault last year. Well, then where's the information? If it's not classified, tell us everything you found out. So I don't believe it. If there's information, let's see it.
So are people swallowing this? Well, we asked people in Washington for their thoughts on the claim that Russia could be behind the racial divisions in the U.S.
Do you buy into the idea that it's Russia's fault? That the people having their rally over there is somehow the fault of Russia, Russian bots, hackers, Facebook? Yeah, not even a little. Okay. And why do you think that's so big in the mainstream media? Why are they pushing that so hard?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think it kind of, it's comforting to hear that this is Russia's fault and not something that's been deeply wrong with America since the foundation of this country. It's nice to say it's Russia's fault and it's Trump's fault, and that once Trump is gone and once, the elections are more, secure, then the racism will fade away because the Russian bots or the Russian hackers are no longer influencing people to be racist. But that's not true. It's just a nice story you can tell yourself themselves to say this racism and this white supremacy of the United States is not the fault of the United States, it's the fault of Russia or, whatever else.
The media is kind of using the Russia stuff as a way to go after the left. So they're saying all these left-wing activists are, being, misled by Russia, or Russia is behind it. And, even though there are genuine grievances to be had with, all sorts of things, and Russia plays a minor role, if any, in, on the internet.
Do you buy the idea that all this racism and all this division and all these protests are all caused by Russia?
No, I honestly think it's just, what I want to highlight is the intersectionality of what happened today. Like, there were a small amount of white supremacists here, but there are a lot of people who are coming to counter-protest them. So I don't blame...
Killed the other person. I agree with the public. That's unacceptable. But once again, I'm not a complete moron. I know something was fishy with the Charlottesville event. All I ask you to do is watch this video and at bare minimum, consider it. There are multiple sketchy things that happened the last few weeks. First one is that many reports around Charlottesville said that the police were told to stand down and that they were standing down. Even the ACLU, who hates Trump and has sued Donald Trump, said that the police weren't helping, they were just standing there, watching people fight each other and watching the fight escalate. Once again, relax, double task people, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, terrible bad people. Reality? We can't ignore it. So if that happened, then why is Snopes lying, citing one conspiracy news website? I guess they don't want to tell their audience that the ACLU, who hates and sues Donald Trump, actually said the same exact thing. This is not the first time I caught Snopes twisting reality. They do it all the time. Now let's move on to a couple days later. There was a big report out that somebody was trying to plant bombs in Oklahoma City. A right-wing activist. It was a huge story, and then it completely disappeared. Maybe this is why it disappeared.
Now, if you remember, just 7 days ago, there was news headlines all around the country saying that the FBI thwarted a right-wing terrorist attack that was supposed to blow up a bank building in Oklahoma City.
Jerry Varnell was arrested Saturday by the FBI following an undercover operation. Agents say he tried to detonate what he believed was an explosive-filled van that he parked outside a bank in downtown Oklahoma City. The federal complaint says Varnell originally planned to blow up the Federal Reserve Bank in the nation's capital.
Now, that seems like a very open and shut case. The guy drove a truck filled with what he thought was explosives near a bank building, and the FBI was able to stop him. And yet, like we hear every week, the FBI thwarted and stopped a major terrorist attack and saved lives, right? Well, no, not really. Because if you look at the merits of this case, the details are extremely disturbing and you need to know about them. As we're finding out from the parents of this main suspect in this case, caught the FBI forcing this suspect who was mentally ill to be a right-wing terrorist. The suspect was severely mentally disabled, and the FBI, knowing about this, groomed him and created the situation that we all heard about 7 days ago. The parents of this suspect came out and said, quote, "However, what truly has us flabbergasted is the fact that the FBI knew he was schizophrenic. The state of Oklahoma found him mentally incompetent, and we, his parents, have legal guardianship over him by the courts. These documents are sealed from the public, which is why no news media outlet has been able to obtain them. The FBI clearly knew that he was a schizophrenic because they have gathered every ounce of information on him. Yet they still knowingly continued to groom him despite the clear immoral implication."
That's crazy and widely underreported. Why does that seem familiar? I remember last year during the election, Democratic Party operatives and people that have reportedly visited the White House hundreds of times under Barack Obama's administration were caught on a hidden camera admitting that they pay mentally ill people to go to Donald Trump rallies to start violence so they can frame the media violence. Don't believe me? Watch for yourself.
What I call this conflict engagement.
That's your version of re-enfranchisement.
Conflict engagement in the lines at Trump rallies. We're starting anarchy here.
No, I'm saying, we have mentally ill people that we pay to do shit. Make no mistake.
If you're there and you're protesting and you do these actions, you will be attacked.
at Trump rallies. That's what we know.
So that's part of the process of eliciting the reaction.
The whole point of it is we know that Trump's people will freak the fuck out. His security team will freak out, and his supporters will lose their shit.
This is Scott Fogle. He is the National Field Director for Americans United for Change. He used to work for People for the American Way, an organization funded by George Soros. He also has his own company called the Fogle Group. He is one of the dark operatives for the Clinton campaign.
We are contracted directly with the DNC and the campaign, both.
Yeah.
I am contracted to him, but I answer to the head of special events for the DNC and the head of the special events and political for the campaign.
There's a script.
Okay.
There's a script of engagement. Sometimes the crazies bite, and sometimes the crazies don't bite. They're starting confrontations in the line, right? They're not starting confrontations
The volunteers.
in the rally, because once they're inside the rally, they're under Secret Service's control. When they're outside the rally,
They're more effective out. They're harder to get in.
the media will cover it no matter where it happens.
So this is multiple times in the last year alone. That's crazy. I'm not right-wing. I'm not conservative, but this is why I make these videos. There's something really strange and really sinister going on. If there's so much violence at Trump rallies, then why do you have to pay mentally ill people to start more violence? If right-wing people are so bad, then why do you have to pay mentally ill people to pretend to be right-wing people to start violence? I know terrible and ignorant people exist. I'm not making excuses for them, and I'm not pretending like these type of people don't exist. I know they do. I condemn them, and I want to see people be kinder to each other. But given the reality of what I just said, could Charlottesville possibly have been completely staged? Given what I just said and the facts and reality that I just showed you, listen to what this guy has to say.
Why would buses line up in the same place and drop people off? Some of the people got on Black Lives Matter shirts, and some people got on KKK shirts. Now, when have you ever seen someone with a KKK shirt? Now, we know we see people with Black Lives Matter shirts, but when have you ever seen someone in the KKK shirt? And then why would, look, she said these buses were bumper to bumper, dropped everybody off and took off. All the buses were the same. It was well orchestrated. Now, hey, I don't want to get missing after this. All right? But I'm being honest on this, y'all. Back to back. Think now. Think. Share this. Think and share this video. This was all set up. You understand? The whole thing. First of all, you're not going to have on a KKK t-shirt, and you're not going to have on a Black Lives Matter t-shirt getting off the same brand of buses parked back to back. We're talking about bumper to bumper, not in the same area, bumper to bumper.
Could it have been real racist and real neo-Nazi and white supremacist people defending a statue? Absolutely. I'm not ruling out either or promoting either or. Once again, I'm just not a complete moron. I'm sorry. It's also important to note many groups, including the Democratic Party, are seeing massive fundraising after Charlottesville. They're using and exploiting this tragedy for personal financial gain. I see billboards in my city already trying to capitalize on all of this nonsense. I'm not falling for it, and neither should you. At the end of the day, one president, one group, or one man is not going to change the world for the better. It's going to be all of us. It's going to be every race, religion, gender, and country. The collective consciousness, the collective soul, the collective initiative to make the world a better and more moral place. Let's stop looking towards politicians or news sources to tell us how to be happy and healthy. Let's bring the love and prosperity back to our own communities. Let's look in the mirror and be the change that we want to see in the world. That's how we're going to change the world. It's going to be all of us. Much love. God bless you and your family. And let's learn to multitask, or else we're going to keep getting played by politicians and the media.